Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about my book and reading resolutions for 2014, and yes, this is a little bit late technically, but no one says you have to have it all figured out by January 1st. That just means you have more days to accomplish your goals, but I'll be fine. I really liked the way 2013 went in terms of reading, so a lot of my goals are going to be similar to the goals that I set last year, or it's going to sort of be expanding on or a goal in relation to something that happened in 2013. If you're interested in seeing how I did with my 2013 goals, you can always check out my video from last week where I did a wrap up of the year. So my first goal is to read 50 books this year, and I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, Rincey, you read 69 books last year, why are you only setting your goal at 50 books? And that's because I really like the number 50. It works out to about a book a week with some wiggle room in there, which is something that I'm very comfortable with. Before I started booktubing, I usually only read about 30 books, and so I'm not sure if last year was kind of just a fluke. But also, I don't want to set my goal too high because I kind of like having a life and doing things besides reading, like listening to music and watching TV shows and hanging out with friends and family and things like that. So I don't want to set my goal too high because I never want my world to become 100% books, because as much as I like books, I like other things too. Secondly, I'm going to be taking part of the Mount TBR challenge again this year. If you guys weren't around for it last year, basically Mount TBR is this challenge I found on a blog, which I will link down below. It's a goal to read a certain amount of books that are older books on your TBR list. So basically it's books that you bought before the first of the year. So it's a really good way to sort of chip away at your TBR pile. Last year I set my goal for 36 books and I didn't accomplish the goal, but I'm going to try once again to read 36 books from my TBR list this year. That works out to about 3 books a month, which I think is perfectly doable as long as I keep my purchasing under control, which kind of segues nicely into my next goal, which is just to buy less books, which was what I said last year, and I actually did follow it because my TBR pile is lower. I'm going to admit that I currently have about 120 unread books. I think I'm actually at 118 or something like that, but I have about 120 unread books, which is a quarter of all the books that I own, which isn't horrible, but I definitely want to get that number lower. My goal is for the end of the year to have less than 100 unread books. If possible, I would think it would even be nice to get under like 80 unread books. Towards the last half of the year, I got a lot better about keeping my spending under control and buying less books than I read, and so I'm going to kind of follow the same guidelines where I have to buy less books than I read every month. My next goal is also a continuation of a goal that I set last year, which is to read one person of color author per month. I'm really hoping that at the end of the year, no matter how many books I read, I will have 25% of the total will be people of color, either Americans who are people of color or authors who are from a bunch of different countries. I really think this is attainable because I've been working really hard at acquiring books by authors of color, and so as long as I read those books, I'll be fine. Similarly, at the end of the year, I'm hoping that 25% of my reads, or about 1 book a month, will be nonfiction reads. I read some nonfiction last year. I think it came out to about 13% of the books that I read were nonfiction, but I want to bump that up. I own a lot of nonfiction, and I tend to not read it quite as frequently because it's denser and it takes longer to read. I like nonfiction and I really want to read more of it, so I'm going to make it one of my goals. And also another thing that I want to do is I want to read between 2 to 3 presidential biographies or autobiographies this year. I did the big books tag last year and I'll have a link for that if you guys want to watch that, but a lot of those books, or some of those books that I talked about, were presidential biographies. I went through this phase where I really enjoyed reading about American history. I mean, I still do, but I went through a phase where it was like a month and I only read stuff about American history, and some of those were presidential biographies. I realized that I hadn't really read any since that point, so I found this list on the Washington Post, which was basically a crowdsourced list of the best presidential biographies. My goal is to, throughout my lifetime, work my way through all of the presidents. Generally, I've been cherry picking and I mostly stay in the 1900s and forward outside of reading Abraham Lincoln biographies. So I'm hoping that if I start from the beginning and work my way through, I'll get myself to all those presidents sort of in the middle that I don't really know anything about other than they existed and were presidents. I'll have a link to the Washington Post blog post that lists all the biographies, so you'll see that in case you guys are interested. Or if you've read any presidential biographies yourself, feel free to leave comments down below with some suggestions because I'd love them. I'm currently looking for biographies about Washington, Adams, and Jefferson since they are the first 3 presidents. In terms of any resolutions for my channel, I don't really have any. I kind of like the way things have been going on my channel. I've been pretty consistent about posting at least 1 video a week for sure. I've been doing every week since I've started, literally. And I've been doing more like 2 to 3 videos a week. And I really like the way things are going with bookish related videos on Tuesdays, book reviews on Thursdays, and then a miscellaneous video here and there. If you guys have any suggestions about videos that you want to see from me or things that you saw last year that you liked and you want to see more of, feel free to leave those suggestions down below. I'm more than happy to take suggestions about things you like and don't like about my channel. Constructive criticism is a very necessary thing in order to grow and expand. So yeah, those are my resolutions for 2014. Feel free to leave comments down below letting me know about your resolutions, or if you made a video talking about this, feel free to leave a comment down below with that as well. I've been having a lot of fun seeing what people are going to be trying to do this year, and I wish you all the best in your resolution. At the end of each month, I'll be doing my monthly wrap up as I usually do, and I'll be going over the resolutions to see how I'm doing and if I'm on track. I felt that really helped with my resolutions last year, so I'll keep going with that this year. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching.